Hi, Jen. Welcome to the show. Would you introduce yourself and talk about your work?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Reyhan Ma, Albertson. I was born and raised in Malaysia of Chinese heritage. I've been living in Hawaii for the last 19 years, the past 3 years here in Maui. My work at the moment is to simply show up and play my role as it is revealed to me. That's the only way I can think of explaining what my work is now. I am a co-creator of a healing womb garden here in Hawaii, supporting the birth workers and women in their postpartum.
Amazing. I'd love to have you share your story and tell our listeners a little bit more about how you became so passionate about postpartum care.
So I think it all started when I was expecting my son. We were living on Oahu. This was over 10 years ago. Coming from Malaysia, where the population is, made out of 3 ethnic groups. We have Malays, Chinese, and the Indians, and each one of these have their own very deep-rooted traditions in postpartum care. So when I was expecting my son, I kind of looked around on Oahu and realized that I wasn't going to be able to receive that care, the kind of care that I would have had I planned on giving birth in Malaysia. There was a general lack of awareness on how important it is to receive adequate postpartum care. Of course, there were birth workers and doulas who were doing the work, but it was simply not very accessible. It wasn't economical or sustainable, So I guess my passion stems from recognizing the need, noticing how pregnancy and childbirth have been hijacked by consumerism and commercialism, and the only thing that seemed to be talked about in the postpartum period was the alarming rate of postpartum depression here in the United States, and knowing that this needs to be talked about because it could look so different and it is possible. We just have to remember how to do that.
Wow. So what was your journey like to bring awareness to this topic and co-create the womb garden?
There's been a lot of changes over the last 10 years, just trying to see how this awareness needed to come about. After we moved to Maui, I had this very strong push to bring this back, and I felt a very strong womb healing energy that needed to happen. So my husband and I took a course from a medicine maker here on Maui, and one day he asked me what I would like to do, what I would like to create. And just like that, we started to co-create a garden that would grow plants and herbs with medicinal properties for women, and specifically those in the postpartum period. So last October, we had our planting day and the womb garden was born.
Amazing. And I've been there. It is amazing. What has inspired you from this whole co-creation?
So much. I am always astounded by who shows up and why they show up. I mean, if you asked me a year ago, if I had envisioned a garden on my property, I would have probably laughed because I have no background. I have almost zero knowledge on plants and their medicinal properties. Yeah, I know a few, and I've always been into natural healing, but when I come into a space, into the womb garden, and I'm meeting medicine makers and, tincture, tea creators, people with so much knowledge come in and are drawn to being in the womb garden, and with that intention, put their hand in the soil to bring this magic alive, I am completely humbled. And so seeing how the garden just draws kindred spirits together, it totally inspires me to explore more offerings to the community in support of womb healing and postpartum care, because obviously there is a hunger there, and there's so much passion that people bring, and they each bring their own gifts, which then I'm like, you have to put that out to the world. And so a lot of the times that's how the offerings come about.
Wow. I know your work extends beyond just the garden. Can you tell us a little bit about your podcast? Can you tell us a little bit about your podcast and how that came to be?
Sure. My podcast is called Pulse on Postpartum, and it was the answer to how to begin bringing awareness to postpartum care through storytelling. So I'm on a mission to collect postpartum stories. I talk to friends and family, as well as postpartum practitioners from all different backgrounds all over the world, and have them share their cultural practices, their traditions, superstitions, the foods that they eat, postpartum challenges, postpartum bliss, just their experience with the postpartum, what's happening around them in the country they're living in the community they're living in, what's happening, what's not happening, what needs to happen. And I've learned so much and having so much fun doing it.
Amazing. I am excited to listen to your podcast. I know that you also work with girls' coming of age ceremonies and gatherings, because I've been the beneficiary of that with my two daughters participating. And I'm wondering, the wisdom and the experience that you've brought to our Moon Maidens group and organized. Can I share a little bit about that experience with our audience?
Absolutely.
So we had wanted, as mamas in our homeschool community, to bring a coming of age gathering for our girls who were getting to be about the age where they might start their moon cycles. And we had struggled a little bit trying to organize that. We had several meetings from last spring through the summer. One of our meetings was at the beach and there was a sandstorm. It just seemed like there was always something that just caused it to not come together. And then one of our teachers asked you to kind of come and help hold it and create space for it and organize us. And it just came together beautifully. But really, we've had 5 amazing circles now, and you've brought in the right people, and we have a curriculum that's developed, and it seems like the path really just opened up when you came in to organize us. When did you first know you could coordinate and bring people together to facilitate meaningful experiences?
So I had a hard time thinking about this, and I think spiritually, I just believe with humility that people I'm meant to work with have been predestined and are put in my life. And ever since I started to pay more attention to it, really trusting that, exercising discernment, which I'm still working on. That's a continuous journey. I'm just recognizing this a little more now. It's effortless for me to see the strengths that people bring and pull them in where I see they could really shine. So, like you said, this was a vision that was already held by mothers in the community of girls who are coming of age. And I simply picked up the role of coordinator and got it going, got it started. And sometimes we get too stuck in trying to get it perfect before we get it we get started on it. And the truth is there's always going to be some growing pains. There's always going to be some mucky stuff in the beginning. And I was willing to do that. You know, I don't mind doing the mucky part to bring something, and then fine tuning. You know, it has to start somewhere. And I think we're doing it beautifully to fine tune the moon circle. It's been so rewarding to see it happen and see the maidens enjoying themselves, hearing that the mothers of the maidens are happy with the offerings, that are happy with the offering. I just think that what it really is I'm just very clear on where I personally fall short in having a vision materialize. And at the same time, I can see the strengths in others who can effortlessly and willingly bring that peace, and together, you know, find satisfaction in bringing the common vision to fruition. So I see so much more value in rallying together to bring about an amplified outcome. And that's especially true right now, because it's time for us to work together, not alone.
I couldn't agree more. And so what's, I think you might have already answered my next question, which is what's been the most rewarding part of that work? And I think you just kind of covered that beautifully. So we'll just let that kind of live in space. I know you also homeschool, and we met through our homeschool community. Can you share a little bit about that journey, and what's your favorite part of how your children are experiencing their education?
So how we came across this community was through our move, and we had a new neighbor that was exploring a Waldorf experience for her child, who happened to be too young for this community that we're in. And so, you know, we explored it, and it happened to be 5 minutes away from the place that we just moved to. So I think that was already the determining factor that we were going to join the community, but also that we had already decided to pull our children out of public school and find an alternative. This community offered you know, an experience for our children to homeschool as a group with a teacher and enjoy the experiences that children need in education, you know, having their peers around them, coming together for plays and festivals. So it's been, I think, a very great experience for our children. We hadn't, you know, the pandemic wasn't a deciding factor in this. We had already decided to do it, but it turned out to be such an excellent choice for us to make at the beginning of the pandemic, because our children had a beautiful experience with education throughout the pandemic that I know many parents can't say they did.
I've had the exact same experience and been really grateful for our homeschooling community and the collaboration and the coordination of some of the leaders within our group. And we also chose to homeschool before the pandemic and are very grateful that we did that. So yeah, it's amazing. And what's your favorite part about like your kids' experience in all of the homeschooling, that, you know, this new way of educating kids?
For me, my favorite part is kind of living vicariously through them in this very sweet, nurturing educational model. I didn't have that experience in my schooling. It was very strict. It was very rote. It was extremely academically based, right? Everything by merit. And to see, you know, the children have these wonderful experiences in their festivals. The plays especially are probably one of my favorite parts. And that's coming up on Thursday on your property. Very excited about that. It's just, I think the sweetness of it is what touches me and makes me feel like I've made the right decision.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this way of educating kids is, we still hold the high bar for academics, but it's such a sweet kind of way to educate kids. My kids love.
That's right. I mean,
School.
they're learning in a fun way. Like they love
And what,
to learn, and they want to do well. It's not based on fear. It's not based on getting a low grade. It's because it's made fun and the experience is enjoyable. So
yeah, it's not competitive, right?
no.
Yeah. I love that too. So what's coming into your field of awareness right now as we enter 2022? What's birthing? Either personally, professionally, what can we all be inspired by and look forward to for 2022?
There is so much newness that I feel coming into this year, and I can't exactly put a finger on what it is, but there's going to be a big shift, and I feel it accelerated almost. Personally, everything is new. So much has changed, and you know this, towards the last year and into this year, it was a very clear sign for me that the old is done. It is done. The door has been shut, and you now focus on the forward. And I've had some, navigating to do with all of that happening. It was a lot. It was very heavy. It was huge lessons in humility. And I'm so grateful for the community that I'm in and for the people that surround me now, my family and my friends who were able to help me through that. There was a lot of processing that had to be done, but it was a very clear sign that that's the old and now you're in the new. And the thing is, I've been working in the new already, and that made these transitions, I don't know, probably the right time to say, I got terminated from my job. It's a very vulnerable thing for me to go through, but I held on to my values and my truth, and it kind of propelled me into the work that I'm doing now, and it feels aligned. I know that this is what I need to be focusing my energy on. So that's what's happening. I'm pouring it into the womb garden. As far as the womb garden goes for this year, there's going to be a lot of wonderful offerings in the form of circles. I can actually even see some form of moon circles coming in there, and women's circles, lots of offerings around the postpartum, bringing the community together, and having the families, the support network come in. So that's in the works, and we'll announce it once we have that design.
That's beautiful. I think what you're experiencing and what you're talking about is so right on. So many people have experienced doors shutting these past 2 years and just being ready to step into what's new without any expectation and being ready for whatever life is offering us. I think it's amazing, and it's good words of wisdom for everyone right now, just to kind of be in that space of newness. What would you offer as advice to a new mother about to experience childbirth?
Oh boy. Let go of expectations and plan for the postpartum. We put so much pressure on how we think we want the birth to happen. People pour so much of their resources into designing a birth plan. And the truth is, I mean, that's all really good. You know, I don't think you should prepare for the birth. That's very, very important. But the baby's going to come the way the baby wants to come. And if we just let go of that expectation, it is a beautiful experience regardless. But you can plan for the postpartum and have your network of support ready. Think about how you'd like to be nourished during that time. How will these foods and meals be prepared for you when you're busy being a mom to a newborn? Plan to have things taken care of so the baby has all it needs after birth, which is a happy, healthy, well-rested mother.
That is beautiful. I think you're that words for all of us, even whether we've already experienced childbirth or not. I think we all agree with that. Thank you for coming on the show today. Reyhan, please let everyone know where they can find you.
Thank you for having me. That was really fun. So I am on Instagram. It is womb_garden_Maui. You can find us there. And I'm also a founding trustee of Woo Woo Wellness, which is a platform for lifting up wellness topics and supporting healers with their work. And you can find our content and news there too on patreon.com/Woo Woo Wellness.
Yay, we're all about lifting that up. So that's amazing. Thanks so much, Reyhan. I'm going to sign off.
Thank you, Jen.
Bye.